Oh, you damn right. Recruiting never stops. Let's do a recruiting hour on New Year's Day. That's how you know it never stops. It never stops. It's done for 24, but now we're in 2025. Let's go. Happy New Year to everybody. We even got a little festive background for you here to start 2025. If you are checking this out at 9 a.m. on New Year's Day, first off, the hell is wrong with you? What kind of weird drunk are you that you're up at 9 a.m.? If you are watching at 9 a.m., we will not have the live chat capability. It's for your protection on New Year's Day. Okay. That's Jason Sukamel. I'm Chad Hastings, and it's the recruiting hour. We're putting it out an hour earlier today. Anwar's dealing with stuff, getting ready for the game with Texas and Arizona State. So we thought we'd throw it out a little earlier for you. Also, as you can see on the top graphic, we have a new sponsor for the recruiting hour, and it is the good folks at Longhorn Wealth Management Group. We'll even show you a Longhorn on a graphic. How about that, right? There you go. It's like a Bevo cousin right there. Longhorn Wealth Management. You can call them at 707. That's a 972 area code. You see it there? 707-4900 or longhornwealth.net. This is a company that is run by Longhorns for Longhorns. Our man John Donovan, president of Longhorn Wealth Management Group. How about this? He is a Texas Ex's Life member, his wife, and 6 siblings. Also UT grad. Safe to say they're rooting for Texas against Arizona State. And right now they are offering a free 90-minute consultation to help you start 2025 off on the right foot and learn how a certified financial planner like John can help you maximize wealth, minimize your taxes, and secure your legacy. So check them out. Again, you can call that 972-707-4900 or go to longhornwealth.net. So shout out to the new sponsor here on the recruiting hour. Coming up a little later on in this in the show, we'll tell you about a commitment that is coming this week on the first week of 2025 because recruiting never stops. But Jason, we're going to get some other updates from you, and we'll do a mention of your 321 article as well as we get started here with 2025. Let's just maybe start with some meat and potatoes line of scrimmage stuff, because that's always important to get the blocking and tackling. I think we're starting on the offensive line with an update today.
Yeah, Texas fans love their offensive lineman and defensive line recruiting. We'll talk about both of that a little bit today, Chad. But yeah, I made some calls over the weekend, just kind of touching base with some guys that I really hadn't talked to in a while, or in this case, this was my first conversation. Zayden Krempin, offensive tackle out of Prosper, and Texas really likes this kid. And I saw him. I was actually down there for the Kentucky game outside the field house, and I saw Zayden Krempin walk by, and I'm like, whoa. It took me a second to register who it was, but I was like, that's a good-looking player. We're just walking by. I was like, that kid caught my attention. So he is a Rivals 250 member, 4-star prospect, just ranked just outside the Rivals 100. He's a guy that really likes Texas. He's been to a couple Texas games. He told me he went to the A&M Texas game, so he saw Texas in College Station. Kyle Flood and the coaches are really the assistant coaches are really recruiting him pretty hard. And Texas is in a pretty good spot. He's pretty open, but he said, hey, Texas is very high on his list. Let me see if I can find the exact quote. He said they're up there. I'd say they're top 3 right now, Zayden Krempin. I think A&M's also heavily involved there. He's got some out-of-state schools he wants to visit. 6'5", 275 pounds. Wow. He told me his doctors still think he has a couple inches, so he might get up to 6'7". He wants to get to around 290, putting in the work this offseason. But Texas is really recruiting him pretty hard. And it's interesting, Prosper. And I didn't think of this until he said it, but Jake Majors from Prosper. And Zayden told me, he said he went to a Christmas Eve church service. Jake Majors goes to the same church. So, the players had a couple days off for Christmas. They saw each other at the church service, and they're talking it up. And Jake's like, dude, if you want to be the best and be developed and be a beast, he goes, Kyle Flood is the guy. He goes, it's legit. He will get you to where you want to go. And Zayden said, hey, those words coming from Jake Majors mean a lot to him. So, he wants to get out this spring, maybe hit some out-of-state schools. He's already thinking about what schools he wants to take official visits to. Texas will get an official visit. I think we can Say that very confidently. No date set up or anything, but look for that to get set up this spring. But yeah, Zayden Crimpen, really good prospect out of Prosper, and guy that's high on Texas, and Texas is high on him.
Man, you don't want to be starting any trouble in that church around Christmas time.
No.
My goodness.
Or any church, really, Chad.
Any church, but geez, you're watching the Christmas play, and look at the size of those wise men. My God. How tall is that dude?
In Texas, if I can jump in, I mean, they really have a need at offensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, they took 4 last year, but, they didn't get Fasusi, who we've talked about it at length, who apparently is doing really well down at Under Armour practices this week for Under Armour All-American game. But, Texas has a big need at offensive line, including offensive tackle. They're telling Zayden and some of these others, like, hey, we're going to lose maybe 4 guys to the pros from our line. And we need guys who can come in and contribute early, like we've seen Kelvin Banks do. They're telling Zayden, hey, you could be that one of those guys for us. They're really stressing to him early playing time, and obviously a big need for Texas on offensive line.
So, Jason, as you look at the projection, kind of, I guess, in your mind, you're talking about that size, 6'4", or 6'5", or maybe even going to be a little taller. So, in my head, I'm thinking a tackle that wants to grab you at the 30-yard line and put you up into the 5th row. Like, does he project as a tackle for you? No doubt.
Yeah, no doubt about it. 100%. This guy's going to be a tackle. He moves well. He's got that frame. So, and he's there's a few good tackles. We've talked about John Turntine, of course. But if Texas could get Turntine and Zayden Crimpen and they can. Now, will they? We'll see. I mean, it's still a long way to go, but that would be a heck of a bookend tackle tandem for Texas in that 2026 class.
John Turntine, a name we might say a few times on the recruiting hour in 2025, just maybe. Zayden Crimpen, that first name we hit out of Prosper, hanging out with Jake Majors at church around Christmas time. That's cool stuff. That's good job getting all the blocking figured out. All right, Jason, how about the tackling side of things? Let's go to the defensive line. Give us an update on a couple of guys, couple names to start to put in the memory bank in this 26 class.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, Texas has offered them, so they're kind of in my brain floating around, but they put out so many offers, sometimes it's hard to keep up. But there's 2 out-of-state guys, and I kind of piggybacked off of our rivals national guys for this, but I put it in my 3-2-1. But there's a defensive tackle, Dylan Berryman, out of I'm not going to even try to say it, but Monroe, Louisiana, rivals 250 member, D tackle. And there's like a future cast in for him to go to LSU. You get it, right? These in-state guys who are high-profile guys in Louisiana. It's hard to get those dudes out of Louisiana. Now, Texas has done a good job. They've done it before, obviously, Derek Williams and some others. But by and large, LSU does a good job of keeping that state, their borders shut on that state. Well, like I said, there's a future cast in for LSU. Maybe not. Maybe that's a little premature. There's the talk right now that he may be looking to lead the state. This guy's 6'2", 294 pounds. Texas and USC are the 2 teams that he's mentioning. And he's already visited Texas a couple times. He visited USC in the fall. I expect if Texas has a junior day in January, which they will, late January, maybe that first weekend of February, they'll try to get him back on campus. So kind of an interesting storyline that I was like, okay, I need to start paying attention. And we all need to start paying attention to this. So I made sure to put it in my 3-2-1. He's not locked in for LSU. It could be Texas or USC with the early lead there. The other one is a guy I've never talked to him, James Johnson, but he's out of North Fort Myers, Florida. Another defensive tackle, another Rivals 250 member. He's got offers from all the Florida in-state schools, right? He's got offers from all around the country in the Southeast. He specifically has mentioned, kind of the scuttlebutt, that Texas might be the early team to beat because of his relationship with Kenny Baker. Kenny Baker, obviously, still in his first, I guess he just kind of finished his first full recruiting cycle for Texas, did a really good job, and he's already doing a good job next year because he's got himself in a good position with 2 really talented 4-star Rivals 250 interior defensive linemen. So James Johnson out of North Fort Myers, Florida, Dylan Berryman out of Monroe, Louisiana. Keep an eye on those names. Hey, listen, man, there's a long way to go, okay? I mean, these guys aren't going to sign for 11 and a half months or whatever it is. But Texas is in a good early position. That's where you want to be.
And both have been offered by Texas, you said?
Both have been offered by Texas, correct.
Gotcha. It is the recruiting hour, the first one for 2025. We hope everybody had a good, safe New Year's Eve, and you're getting ready for this. If you are watching on the morning of the first when it is running, then it means you're getting ready for Texas and Arizona State, all the other bowl action, NFL's last weekend. Maybe they drank you out of house and home last night at your New Year's Eve party. You're going to need to get stocked up. Make sure to check out Specs.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets.
All right, as we roll through the recruiting hour, and of course, Texas and Arizona State coming up at noon. If you're watching us on New Year's Day, remember we're out at TCH Social Austin 183 in Anderson Mill for the watch party. We'll give you more info on that as we roll along. Jason, at this point, I think the old phrase is, keep the friends close and enemies closer. Let's take a kind of a wider look at recruiting, because I know on our chats during shows and on orangebloods.com, I know Longhorn fans are, they're going to keep tabs on the rivals and as well as some of the big dog programs around the country. So they're always going to want to know what the Sooners are doing, always want to know what the Aggies are doing. Let's talk about the Aggies specifically today, because there have been some big moves for them, specifically some of the wide receiver moves they've made. Give me your assessment kind of what A&M has looked like for you in recruiting at this point.
Yeah, I wrote about it in my column that I posted yesterday afternoon. My assessment is like, what in the hell is going on? Because A&M, let me just pull up my column there. 8-5, they lost their last 3 games, okay, 4 of their last 5 games. Somehow, Chad, maybe you can tell me, they have 10 commitments. They have landed now 8 straight commitments from out-of-state prospects, including 3 from California, 3 from Georgia. 2 guys that'll probably be 5 stars from the state of Georgia have committed a year early to Texas A&M, not Georgia, Texas A&M. I just said, I don't know what's going on with this, but hey, truthfully, I don't care. I said, hat tip to A&M, whatever they're doing to generate, perceived momentum or real momentum, it's working. And people are talking about them. We're talking about them. People on our Orangebloods, people on social media are talking about them. And I know this A&M staff, I was kind of just talking to some people this week. I was like, what do you think is going on? Like, where is this early success coming from in this 2026 class? They've got 10 commitments. Them in Oregon are the only 2 programs that have that many commitments, and they're the top 2 programs in the country right now. And one person said, well, this is a person with close ties to A&M, said, I don't really know, what's going on. Let's be honest. I mean, there's probably NIL discussion. That's just part of the game today. But this staff, when they first got hired, Mike Elko's staff, they really started focusing on the 2026 group really early, okay? And they got these out-of-state guys to come in for visits during the fall and things. So it's not like guys are committing sight unseen. But in my experience, Chad, the guys that commit early usually are quarterbacks because they want to secure their spot. Or maybe it's in-state guys who just have a connection or a love for a program. Mm-hmm. A&M has 8 of their the last 8. They just got 2 in the last week or so from California, both highly ranked players. I don't know what they've got, what they're selling there, what they've got going on. Again, 2 possible 5-star prospects out of Georgia have committed early. But, I said, I do like their strategy. They're just trying to build early momentum and not kind of fall behind the curve. So maybe if you can get these, just say, hey, you know what, let's talk NIL. Let's go ahead and just commit early. And, if you still want to take other visits, we're fine with that. But just the perception of getting guys to commit early, as people talking about A&M, has other recruits looking at A&M. Now, will they hold on to all these commitments? No. I mean, some of them will inevitably peel off. That's just how recruiting works. But it's an interesting strategy, and they're executing it really well. Now, Texas, on the other hand, kind of takes the other approach. They like to take things a little bit slower, and they'll load up on their commitments in the summer. And obviously Texas has other stuff they're worried about. They're still in the college football playoffs in a few hours. So it's just a really interesting strategy. And I'm like, I don't understand what gives. What is A&M selling that's working so well? I don't know. I don't have my finger completely on the answer. I think I can make a pretty educated guess, but Texas fans are every time they turn around, it's like, oh my gosh, another Rivals 100 member. They got 4 Rivals 100 members committed, Jed.
Wow. So, yeah, that was going to kind of be my follow-up. Obviously, we've talked a lot about, in-state recruiting versus out-of-state, but it's got to be quality throughout. You can say, well, look at all these guys from Texas, but if you tell me they're not ranked that highly, what you're telling me is the attention here is not only because there's some out-of-state guys, not only because there's guys from the state of Georgia, which is going to blanket people, but you're saying they are highly ranked enough where everybody is noticing this.
They've got a defensive end out of Georgia who's ranked number 15 nationally.
Wow.
Overall, regardless of position. They've got a receiver out of Georgia who's committed number 29 nationally. I mean, if those guys hold those positions, they will be 5-stars when the rankings come out. They just landed a receiver out of St. John Bosco out of California who's number 102 nationally. So he's just outside the Rivals 100. They've got 2 other commitments from guys inside the Rivals 100. Yeah, these are not scrub players. I mean, these are really, really good players. I just think it's interesting. I think it's fascinating. I mean, if they can hold on to these guys, they're going to be a real thorn in the side of a program like Texas. Now, I say all that. The commitments they have are not guys that Texas is really recruiting. So that's not the issue. It's not like they're taking early commitments from guys that Texas wants to get on their commitment list. But just, hey, if anytime A&M's recruiting that well, you got to take notice. And, again, I don't know exactly what the sales pitch is. I'd love to talk to some kids and be like, because it just does. I don't know, man. No disrespect to your Aggies, Chad, but they're 8-5. They're not. It's not like these kids are early committing to Georgia. Right. You could understand it if a Florida early commits to Georgia. You're like, okay, it's Georgia. I get it. Or Ohio State, right? But A&M is obviously a great program, but they're not on that level. So to see A&M having that much early success is just fascinating to me. But we'll see how it all plays out. There's a long way to go. We'll see if they can hold on.
And obviously you're right to point out, and that stumble, lose 4 out of the 5 games to finish the year. What I've wondered, Jason, as you're talking there, that clearly if it's Oregon and A&M at the top there, you got to think NIL is part of it. One thing I also wonder.
100%. I mean, Oregon obviously has very deep pockets. A&M has deep pockets, and
one of the biggest things Mike Elko had to do was get rid of whatever filth is not the right word. Whatever, I don't know, mess was left behind by Jimbo Fisher. And some of the rumors that were out there was about NIL. Was it coming through? Were they making promises they weren't keeping? We talk about this with every program needs to be paying attention to it, because you don't want to be making false promises. You don't want to be making these hollow promises and then kids are talking about it. So maybe at least at this point, Jason, has Mike Elko at least stabilized the conversation enough that maybe these big time recruits are at least thinking, okay, well, whatever A&M is telling me, whatever Oregon is telling me in the 2 cases here, maybe they could think it's legit, that it would happen. It would come through if they end up in College Station.
Yeah, and I mean, all these kids have to do is ask current team members. I mean, they're not dumb. Like, hey, if your NIL, is your promises, have they come through it? So that word will travel pretty quickly. I don't even know when it goes into effect. I can't keep up with all these changing rules, but you basically have the salary cap, if you will, almost for the NIL that the schools will be paying, right? Maybe this is A&M's way of saying, hey, let's get you locked in before that quote unquote salary cap hits, and we can get you a bigger payday before they kind of try to limit us. Now, there's other ways around that with, other NIL opportunities once that number does come in. But I don't know. I was kind of just writing today, and I saw A&M get another commitment last weekend. I'm like, damn, that's another really good player. So I just kind of put it in my column, just like, what do they got cooking in College Station? Because something.
Yeah, it is interesting. Give me one other thought on the Aggies, and we'll move on to some other stuff. But I mentioned the receiver room earlier. They put together a couple of nice pieces in the portal, and it's headed up by Micah Hudson. It's a guy that's been talked about a lot. I know you were familiar with the whole process of him going through. Give me your assessment of what that could be for A&M to get Micah Hudson.
If he's healthy and if he's focused, he's a dynamic weapon. I mean, he's not DeCorian Moore, if you're asking me to rank him, but he's probably one of the top 3 or 4 receivers I've covered from the state of Texas in the last 10 years. I think he has that kind of talent. And I get it. He struggled at Texas Tech, didn't play a lot. There's some talk, was it injury related? Is there lingering effects from some of that? I don't know. But I think he has a chance to be a really, really good player. I mean, listen, he was a 5-star player for a reason. I think he was the nation's #1 receiver prospect coming out of high school for a reason. I know Texas fans, they didn't like it when he went to Texas Tech. They obviously hate it when he went to A&M. I don't know, man. I look at it differently, Chad. I get to know these guys, these young men, these kids on a somewhat personal level. I really like Micah Hudson. I do, man. I know he kind of marches to the beat of his own drum, but I'm not a guy that's going to ever wish ill on any prospect. That's just not who I am. I know you're not that kind of guy either. I want Micah Hudson to go to A&M and do well. I think he will. I mean, I'm a Micah Hudson fan. I think he's a good kid, a good quality character. So, I always say, I've been doing this long enough, Chad. I got my own kids. I don't care if they go to A&M or Oklahoma or Alaska or Hawaii or anywhere in between. I want to see kids go somewhere and be successful. So I know we're talking a lot about A&M on this first video of the year, and Texas fans are probably like, what the hell, move on. But, I think Micah Hudson, I think that's a really good pickup. I thought Texas might try to make a run at him. They didn't at all. They weren't interested. I thought they maybe would, and I thought maybe they should. But those coaches, they know better than I do, so we'll see how it unfolds. But I think Micah Hudson could be a problem for Texas when they're meeting up on Thanksgiving weekend in future years, because he's a really
Jason mentioned his 3-2-1 article earlier. Remember, it is brought to you by Texas Card House when you check it out on Orangebloods.com. And we'll tell you a little bit more about TCH coming up. But check out Orangebloods.com for that 3-2-1 article each and every week. War Rooms on Thursday nights, all the other great content that is there as we head towards what used to be the big time crazy signing day in February. It'll still be a signing day, I'm sure, for some people. But you want to get the very latest. Go to Orangebloods.com for that. And we remind you, speaking of Texas Card House, come check it out. Jason, me, Scattaboo, Wisner, and everybody else. ATX Bait's probably going to show up. Our man Barb's 10 may be there, and you can be there too. TCH Social Austin. Don't watch this game alone. It's New Year's Day. Come on out and see us at high noon. The draft beer specials start at 11. $1 draft, $2 jellyfish. I'll remind you, beer people, Stella is on that $1 list. Love Street, one of my favorites, is on that $1 list. So we are not talking about some low-level $1 beer special. It is a great list. And $2 jellyfish speaks for itself. Come out and see us. Here's the room from a previous watch party. Jason's in that picture. My wife's in that picture. The Bad Beat Bacon's down there in the lower left in that picture. All great reasons to show up at TCH Social Austin. 183 and Anderson Mill. That's the day I believe that my wife and Jason were both nervous about the Steelers playing some football. If I'm not.
Yeah, deservedly so. Was that the Baltimore
game? That was the Steelers Baltimore day, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So that was a little tough. Come on out and see us at TCH Social Austin. Also, if you are a card player and you love to do it all kinds of ways, including virtual, this is the new way to do it. If you haven't gotten to hijackpoker.com, do that. Download it onto whatever device you want, and be sure to use the code OB20. Get $20 of free play. That code is good through today for sure on New Year's Day. We're going to see if we can get them to extend it for you, but I know it works through today. So go check them out at hijackpoker.com and come see us at TCH Social, 183 and Anderson Mill. It is a great location. We love hanging out there. So that's the watch party coming up for the game. If you're watching us on Wednesday morning, that is when we're going to be headed out there in just a couple hours. So come on out and see us. TCH Social Austin. All right, Jason, the portal is open. Another reminder of portal stuff. If you're in a bowl game or you're in these teams that are about to lose in the quarterfinal round, Texas fans certainly hope that's Arizona State and 3 others. Those teams have 5 days starting at that point to get in the portal if you want to. Alabama and Michigan, Jason, just played a bowl game.
So Ryan Williams could jump in the portal.
Ryan Williams has 5 days. 5 days. So that game occurred on New Year's Eve. So literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. January 5th would be that 5th day. Keep an eye on that. Jason, it has been a slow, I guess slow is the right word, a slow portal in terms of what Texas has done. There have been some moves. There's certainly been nothing, earth-shattering at this point. What would you tell a Longhorn fan that's been maybe a little concerned about the speed in the portal?
Settle down, calm down. It's fine. Listen, I mean, they've addressed their needs to some degree. They went and got a punter, right? They needed some depth at linebacker. They did that with Brad Spence. They need a lot of help along the defensive line with some depth. They went out and got one. But I like that the staff isn't reaching for guys, right? And they're not going to overpay for guys who just come in, wanting these just ridiculous numbers that are being thrown around. So, I think this staff is doing a good job of being patient. And you don't want to just take guys just so you can bring in a warm body. I mean, this Texas program is a championship level program. If you're bringing in a guy, he better be able to help you in some way, not just be someone that's going to be a third stringer, or, need a guy that's buried on the depth charts or whatever. They're being selective. I like it. I think this roster. Listen, you'd love to add another experienced wide receiver, another maybe 2 interior defensive linemen, maybe a tight end. There are still needs that they'll look for as guys maybe enter, like you said, enter the portal after their season's end, or enter the spring window, the portal in the spring. But I think this is a championship roster without really any additions. I mean, your core of your program is going to be built off of elite high school recruiting, the Justice Terrys and the Michael Terrys, and the guys that Texas has recruited the last several years. So those are other than quarterback. I'll say quarterback's the one game changer. If people want to say, "No, you can turn a program in a hurry." Well, you can if you get a good quarterback. But this is a championship level program. They don't need to reach for guys, and I like that they're being selective and not overpaying. They're going to wait until the spring probably. There is a little bit of risk there because you don't know, okay, what happens if more talented defensive linemen don't go in the portal in the spring? That's a risk. There's a risk like we saw last year. I thought people in the spring got desperate, including like Dominic Williams, the defensive tackle that went to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma way overpaid in NIL for him to come. So, the spring window, little craziness can happen in that spring window, but I think it's fine. I think Texas, like I said, 3 additions, and they haven't had as many departures even as I thought they might. But again, like you said, Chad, that may happen the day Texas' season ends. We may see 2 or 3 other players on the current Texas roster enter the portal. I'd probably expect that, in fact. But yeah, I think it's fine. I think Texas has done what they wanted. It's honestly, it's not a crazy deep talent pool that entered the portal, which just closed a few days ago. So I like Texas's approach. I think they're being patient. They're not overextending. They're not taking reaches on guys that are maybe marginal talent. So it hasn't been the most active stretch for Texas, but I think that's okay. And I think it's mostly by design.
Another thing to keep in mind before we leave the portal, just remember, we talked about the 5-day waiting period, if you will, that 5-day period. If I'm not mistaken, Jason, here's the other thing. When the spring window happens, I think that's the window where you can't go SEC team to SEC team. But I don't think that is true about this 5-day window. So
I would think not, because it's still kind of tagged in with the
right.
December
So
window.
just to use your example, if Ryan Williams decides I don't want to be at Alabama next year, he could be at another SEC school, but in that 5-day version, not in the spring version, as I'm understanding the rule.
I want to catch passes for March.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it would have to be right there. So we're in that time period right now as we're recording this show right here, and you're seeing this show on the 1st or a little after. It's the 1st through the 5th is going to be that window for Ryan Williams. Just something to keep in mind there. But it could be an SEC school for him now, but not if he gets in the spring. SEC might want to fix that at some point moving forward because it's really confusing. All right, we'll get Jason's thoughts on Texas, Arizona State. Also, we talked about a commitment. There's a commitment coming this week. We'll give you the details on that. But let's also tell you once again about our new sponsor. You see the name right there on top, Longhorn Wealth Management Group. We'll bring that nice Longhorn back on the screen. Maximize your wealth, minimize your taxes, ensure your legacy. And if you want to go meet the folks, some of the folks from Longhorn Wealth Management Group, they've got a watch party for you in the Dallas area. So if you're not in the Austin area and coming to see us, go check them out at the Collin County Texas Ex's Game Watch Party. They're at the Brass Tap in Plano on this beautiful New Year's Day. If you're watching us on New Year's Day, if you're watching us on the 2nd or 3rd, you can still go up there, but I don't think they're still there. That's just up to you, though. Remember that free 90-minute private consultation is available to you. That's their gift to you Orangebloods fans to evaluate how 2025 can start for you and how a certified financial planner like John can help you out in all kinds of ways. Call them at 972-707-4900 or go to longhornwealth.net. Thanks to them.
And John has been an Orangeblood subscriber, Chad, since 2002.
Wow.
So you know, if you're an Orangeblood subscriber watching this video, he's going to take
awesome.
good care of you, right? Because OB people, we take care of our own. So, you know, John
plus a wife and 6 siblings that are all Longhorn people.
Yeah, that's a smart family.
That's a lot of hook'em in one house is what that is. That is a lot of hook'em going around. They are definitely rooting for Texas against Arizona State as we record the show before the game. You may already know what the result is. Don't tell Jason or me. We want to see the game legitimately. We want to see it play out. All right, Jason, in terms of that game, before we get to this commitment that will be announced this week, give me a thought on Texas, Arizona State. Pretty much all the predictions I'm hearing are a Texas win and a Texas cover. I've seen the number go all the way up to, I think it's around 13 as we're talking at this moment. Are you in that win and cover category, or are you somewhere different?
I'm in the win and cover, but I'm a little closer than the rest of the Orangebloods staff. I got Texas winning 14, so I've got them bare. And then as I don't have the thing. I'm sorry. As I was talking it out on our prediction show, I kind of started talking. I was like, man, maybe I should go with a higher number because they're missing their best receiver. Their arguably best defensive player is going to miss the first half after a targeting call. I just don't think Arizona State has the horses to keep up with Texas. I've got Texas win. I predicted 34-20. And I thought Arizona State might make a late score to get it to 20. So I think Texas wins this game pretty comfortably. But listen, I mean, if you're a Texas fan, don't go into this game thinking, oh, there's no way Texas can lose. I mean, Arizona State is a good team. They've won 6 in a row. They beat some pretty good competition along the way. So take this game seriously. But I do think Texas, certainly on paper, including my matchups, is just a much better team, more talented team. I expect the Longhorns win by a couple scores.
Yeah, I got 35-17, so I'm kind of in the same area as you.
Yeah, we're all pretty close. All the Orangebloods, pretty close. Yeah, except for Travis. Our man Travis, 42-6. He's got so.
Oh, I like that one. I hope Travis is right. That'd be fun to see, and it would really legitimize. Catch and I talked about it on House Divided yesterday, but just really solidify this season for the team, for Quinn, for Sark. This to me is the bar game. This gets you to that bar. Anything past this, you want it all. And you want a semi-win and you want a final win. But I think any Texas fan that is educated enough about the sport, they know Ohio State is really good. And they know Oregon's really good. And they know if that new quarterback works out, Georgia can still be a just obviously really good team with defense. And Notre Dame, you can't ignore that team either. And we'll see about Penn State and Boise. I don't believe either one of those teams can win it all. But I think Texas fans understand after this, if they can get past Arizona State, there's a game coming that we all understand that could be tough. It could be tough to get by. Not that they can't do it, especially with it in Jerry world. But still, I think this is a crossing a line type of game where if you can get back, Jason, to a Final Four again, back-to-back years, Quinn would have gotten a team into a 4-team, version into the Final Four teams. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, and if they don't, it'll probably be viewed weirdly. You still made the college football playoff. You still won a game, but honestly, it'll be viewed as a disappointment, I think. You make it to that Final Four, you can accept if you play Oregon and Oregon has a good day and you don't beat Oregon, you can accept that. Or Ohio State, same thing, obviously. So, but you're right. That's a good way to put it. This is kind of a line to cross type game on how the season will be remembered.
Yeah, we'll see if Quinn and Sark and the crew can get it done against Texas and Arizona State. As we are talking about it before the game, you may already know. You may already have a big smile on your face. Like, fellas, you have no idea. 68-12. You will never not believe it. We'll see what it looks like. All right, before we wrap up, Jason, let's talk about this commitment. It is coming this week, so people are seeing us. Maybe it's New Year's Day or so New Year's Day occurs on a Wednesday. We're talking about Jan 2 for this commitment announcement, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. January 2nd on Thursday. It's a guy we've talked about, Chad. He visited for the Kentucky game. He's out of Tennessee. Yaya, and he didn't correct me when I said it. He's like, yeah, it's close enough. So Yaya God is how I think he
Okay.
Yahya, last name Gaad. So he's going to announce on Thursday. It's Texas, it's Georgia, it's Florida State, and it's Washington. Those are his final four. Most people think it's going to be Texas or Georgia. I think those other two are just kind of window dressing. I feel really good about Texas's position in this one, Chad. Like I said, he came in for that Kentucky game. I interviewed him afterwards. He was actually on his way home. He said, yeah, it was a 12-hour drive each way. And he goes, dude, it was more than worth the effort. It was great.
Wow.
It was an unforgettable experience. I think ever since that visit, Texas has been in the driver's seat. I mean, Georgia's obviously a formidable opponent when it comes to recruiting and on the field, obviously. But yeah, I think Texas is in a really good spot. So I think Texas fans they're going to have reason to be happy, I think, on Thursday if things go the way I'm expecting.
And you said he's from Tennessee, correct?
Tennessee, yep. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. And D-end.
D-end, he's a strong side, definitely a strong side. He's 6'5", 260 is what we have him listed on Rivals. I watched his film, and I mean, he is a power guy. I mean, he's not going to maybe blow you away with his explosiveness off the edge, but boy, he is a run stuffer who can create havoc in the bathroom or in the backfield. Excuse me. I was watching on Twitter, like he's got workout videos, and it shows him benching 425 pounds. This is a junior in high school. So I mean, this guy, and I remember when I asked him, I said, "Hey, what do you bring to the table?" It wasn't like, "Oh, it's my first step or this or my hands." It was like, I am going to outwork everybody. I'm going to do whatever it takes to be successful. I'm going to work my ass off. That's what I do. And it shows, I mean, because he's just ridiculously strong. And some of the things you see this guy doing if you go to his Twitter timeline, some of the videos you see him doing, you're like, okay, this guy is a workout monster. So big, powerful, strong side defensive end that can really kind of force his way around, certainly at the high school level. And there's a reason, like I said, Georgia and Florida State and Texas. If I look at his offer list, Wisconsin, Florida State, Georgia, Texas, Washington, Arizona, Michigan State, Ole Miss, Wisconsin. I mean, he's got a lot of offers, so a lot of schools after him. So there's a reason why he's only ranked as a 3-star player. He just got his first ranking because he kind of burst onto the scenes. But I think he's a guy that we'll continue to see climb up the rankings as people get more and more evaluations of him.
All right, Jason. So before we go, and since we don't have live chats on this show, I will ask the question that some of the technical fans would want me to ask you about Yahya God. Do you have a commitment story written yet?
Well, it's only Wednesday morning when this is airing, Chad. So
yeah.
Let's just say I'll be ready. I'll be working on Thursday.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Just thought I would ask. The nerdiest of the nerdy wanted me to ask that question. All right. So keep an eye peeled for that. Obviously, a big time dude trying to decide, but it must be a lot of fun. Texas, Georgia, Florida State, Washington, trying to figure out where you want to play a little college football. Not bad at all. That's still ACC, even though I'm old. Big Ten, God help us, and then 2 SEC teams. There you go. Big Ten for Washington. Crazy. Watching them play in a bowl game wearing patches that have Big Ten on it. It just makes no sense. All right, Jason, anything else we need to hit in this recruiting hour?
No, I think we've covered it. We got Under Armour All-American Bowl, and then we've got the what's now the Navy. It used to be Army. It's now Navy All-American Bowl coming up. So I'll be down in San Antonio about starting the following week. So I'll be maybe doing a show from San Antonio at some point. But I'll be down there watching a lot of Longhorn targets, a lot of Longhorn commitments down there.
Sounds good. All right, there you go. There's your recruiting hour, even on a New Year's Day week. First time in 2025. We hope everybody had a great New Year's Eve. Hope everybody's safe and sound. If you're watching this before the game kicks off, we hope to see you at TCH Social Austin. If you're watching after the game, hopefully we're still talking about Texas in a playoff situation and in a semifinal against one of those big dogs coming up on Orangebloods Live. But either way, keep it right here at Orangebloods Live. Like, subscribe, get your notifications. Check out the 3-2-1 article from Jason on orangebloods.com. It is there for you every week. And one more mention there. It is brought to you by the good folks at Texas Card House. Come see us at 183 and Anderson Mill at TCH Social Austin for the watch party for Texas and Arizona State. If you're checking us out before the game, if it's after the game, just go check out TCH Social Austin. Have some Bad Beat Bacon. You will not be disappointed. I promise. Just walk in, say Bad Beat Bacon. It will change your life. Until the next recruiting hour, which I guess would be at this point next Wednesday, back to that normal time and slot and day and everything. Next Wednesday, 10 a.m., we'll get you another recruiting hour. Until then, everybody take care. And thank you for the support here at Orangebloods Live. Happy 2025 to you. See ya.